He just got roasted on Jubilee.
You're a Christian.
You say that. I haven't claimed that.
Oh, what is this? Is this Christians versus atheists?
Don't be a smartass.
Either you're a Christian or you're not. Which one is it?
You're really quite something, you are.
Aren't I? But you're really quite nothing. Right? You're not a Christian.
Okay, I'm done with him.
Like, did he perform pretty badly?
Yeah, he just did an episode called like something.
Yeah, like
Jordan
one
Peterson.
Christian versus 20 atheists or something, right? And I was like, I didn't know. Like, a lot of people are religious, but it's like he seems to have it as like one of the forefronts of his identity. Now, at least, more recently, which I didn't know of before.
Well, there's also different views on that because some people have been trying to get him to identify what he actually is, and he doesn't say it directly, and it's quite annoying. I don't look at anybody wholesale. Like, there's some things that are really good and some things that I struggle with. One of the things that I really admire Jordan Peterson for is his ability to think deeply about something that seems so mundane. I watched a talk of him once talking about what identity is and how it is, and I was thinking this is going to be a 2 to 3 minute definition, and he basically talked for like an hour on how it is part of every aspect of your being, and it is so part and parcel of you that you can't separate it from anything that you do. Somebody could get an idea of what your identity is if they saw a sentence that you wrote. There's just, and that makes so much sense. That makes so much sense that it's just so connected to you. But the thing that bothers me about what I'm seeing him do is it's almost like he's trying to capture the religious audience, but he's not saying what he really thinks. People try to say, do you believe in God? Well, what do you mean by God?
Yeah, he does that
What
a
do you
lot.
mean by belief?
What do you mean by you?
Yeah,
What do you
what
mean
do you
by
mean-
believe? What do you mean by in?
Yeah, and if you're going to do that, then he couldn't have any strong opinions either, because if he's going to have an opinion about atheists and what they're getting wrong, what do you mean by atheists? You know, like, what do you mean? Because the thing I recognize with a lot of atheists is really they don't want to believe in bullshit.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to believe in bullshit either.
Yeah. Yeah, his new book is, because I think I was watching his newest episode on Rogan or something, and he's like, he goes deep into, like, basically the whole episode was, like, about, like, he like, talks about a lot of, like, the Old Testament, the parables, and then he relates it to how it's, like, an analogy or a message for you how to live your own life.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't seem very preachy about it, but anytime and people talk about religion, like, and then, you know, talk about the Bible, verses in the Bible, Cain and Abel, whatever, it's stories from, and as for people to use as like a metaphor for how to live their own life.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed preachy, but he, like, then I'm like, it's like looking at two sides of his coin, which is like, one, he's very educated, right? He's like a psychologist, but he's also very, very religious. And those teams, sometimes those things contrast with one another. You think about someone who's really ultra religious, and sometimes people say, oh, they don't believe in science, or they're like anti-science or whatever. But he's like kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Because he can articulate it well. Like sometimes,
he's like a Charlie Kirk.
even more so, because like, people look at Charlie Kirk and he's like, this guy's a high school dropout or whatever he was. Like, he never even attended college. I would say he's pretty well spoken. I mean, that his whole thing is doing debates on college campuses, right? But like, Jordan Peterson has a PhD. I think he's a doctor, right? He's a psychologist. So he's like, he is science, but then on the other hand, he's also believes in God.
Yeah.
To a pretty like deep level.
The truth is, though, that isn't as rare as you might
No, it's
think.
not. But I'm saying there's a lot of religious doctors, but they're not like writing books called We Who Wrestle with God, and they're not like, a lot of them don't even know all of the stories in the Bible, right? Like, Jordan Peterson, it seems like, has studied the Bible to like the nth degree, like pretty deeply. He's what is it called? Proselytizing?
He
He seems like it. I'm like, what's going on here?
He's not proselytizing in the same way that Charlie Kirk is proselytizing. There's an episode that Jordan Peterson did with George Janko. Do you know who George Janko is?
Yeah, I do.
And George Janko is this super Christian dude. And
Also podcast guy, right?
yeah, he has a podcast. And he made George look like a buffoon because you just see the difference in understanding of the way they view religion. The thing with him, it's hard for me to pin down with Jordan Peterson because there's some things that are obviously flawed in my view, bringing like trying to religiousize everything, but there's some merit to what he does with stories because he talks about biblical stories. There's a reason they've lasted, and the reason they've lasted is there is this life lesson in it that has passed the test of time. For example, he talks about, like, this is in so many stories, like aim high. Like, that's true. Because I've tested that in my own life. Like, whatever you want to do in your life, aim for something. There's a reason there's these other quotes in personal development or Stoic philosophy. If you don't know what port you sail, no wind is favorable. If you don't know where you're going, then how do you know how to adjust? The other thing Jordan Peterson talks about that I really think there's something true to it, maybe it's just because I like living my life this way, and that is live with adventure. Don't try to keep things safe. And if you combine those two things, like if you aim for something, you're going to have adventure. I mean, I'm doing it right now with Cultured Boy.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see the full episode, go here. If you'd like to see my documentary, Hearts Unknown, for free, go here. And if you'd like to interact with me, drop a comment. See you in the next video.